You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School. Episode 190, 5 Elements and Your Face. Welcome to episode 190 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Anjie Cho and Laura Morris are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School. We teach Feng Shui online, we teach a Feng Shui certification program, and we also have a super fabulous newsletter you could sign up for. Just visit us at mindfuldesignschool.com. We have special offers and workshops and calls and challenges and all this fun stuff only for our newsletter subscribers. So be sure to visit mindfuldesignschool.com. You can scroll to the bottom and sign up for our mailing list, or you can look in the show notes where we have a link to sign up for our mailing list. And then make sure you're getting the emails, so check your spam. So we have a lot going on this week. We're ramping back up into September, into the metal month and metal season. And so this episode, we thought we would talk about the 5 elements and your face. We are going to go over basic face reading with the 5 elements, so you can start to understand that the 5 elements are more than just painting your wall red, that there's so much more to it, that it can be applied to someone's face, someone's personal chi. And also, this is a whole modality in itself. One of our good friends, Tamsin Lee, Laura was recently on her podcast. She offers whole consultations reviewing your face based on the East Asian system of face reading. And face reading is one of the many branches within East Asian medicine that people in China traditionally use to evaluate your health and to promote positive qi. So Feng Shui is one of them, Qigong is another, acupuncture, herbs, your nutrition, face reading, and so on. So it's a very established and ancient practice. And we just want to let you know we're really just going over the very superficial basics of this. And we learned this from our teacher, Rosalie Principali, who is one of our principal Feng Shui mentors. And then Laura also studied with another teacher as well, right?
Yeah. So it's something that we have integrated. You can integrate it into your feng shui practice, but it's something that is usually quite specialized, and you usually, really focus on that as a modality. But it is what it helps with, I think, when you sort of even just dip your toe in understanding it, is it really shows you how versatile and how deep the 5 elements run through these practices, right? It runs through all of those arts, the 5 arts. And it's another way, it's actually a really good way to start to be able to interact with clients as well and gain a little bit more understanding. But face reading is all about gaining awareness for your client and letting them understand that certain facial features are connected to certain things in their life, things that happen, their energy, the type of energy, the way they conduct themselves. But we don't want to generalize. You need to practice this pretty deeply to be able to do this as a one-off, if you're going to do this for somebody. It's a pretty deep practice because you don't want to generalize. You don't want to pigeonhole people. And you have to understand there's many, many factors and layers, like really everything from looking at the words that someone says, how they walk, what they wear, as well as their face when you're reading someone's chi, personal chi like that. And it's something that, as with our students, we try to start to get them to understand this a little bit, because it can actually help when you're conducting a consultation to really start to understand what somebody's energy is like.
And that said, since we're talking to our podcast listeners, and not necessarily your students. We don't want you to, we're not
Mhm.
suggesting that you go up, we're not suggesting that you get a client and do this. We're not suggesting that you do this for anyone else. That was a PS for people who do study with us. But like,
Mhm.
if you're just a newbie listener or a listener or a dabbler, this is just an FYI, I think. And we want you to understand that like Feng Shui and East Asian medicine and the five elements go deeper, and you can use this to learn about yourself, but
Mhm.
don't, I wouldn't apply it to anyone else.
No, but what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go through features that are associated with different elements, and we're gonna talk about we want you to sort of think about this in your own personal life. Hey, what do I wanna what would I like more of right now in my life? What do I want to accentuate? What kind of energy am I feeling that I want to bring to the surface? And so that's how we're gonna use this. So we're gonna go through each of the 5 elements. We're gonna keep it really simple and fun. And the first one we're going to start with is water. So what I'm going to tell you is we're going to talk about the features that are associated with your face and with the elements. So for instance, for water, the features associated with water are your ears, your forehead, the chin, and the philtrum, which is the philtrum is the divot under your nose and above your lips. So if someone has very pronounced philtrum, like it's quite deep, that means that they have some water chi in them. If they have, the ears are something that you notice. So something I would say is that, we would look for a dominant feature. But how we're going to look at this today is we're going to say, let's forget about what you look like and what you have dominating. And instead, why don't you think about it a little bit more about the energy. So for instance, the energy of water is very deep, very dark, very mysterious. It has a wisdom to it, a knowing to it. So there's a power hidden like under a seed in the earth in wintertime. So water people they have that kind of wisdom and that mysterious sage-like quality. They're also quite artistic and creative. So maybe this is an energy that is something that resonates with you. Like, yeah, I'm feeling this, or I feel like I'd like to cultivate more of this. You can start to look at your face and do a couple of really simple things to open up those parts of your face. So, for instance, an idea would be to not to show your forehead. So sometimes if you have a particular hairstyle that blocks your forehead or really comes down low, it is, people can't see your forehead, and that forehead is really it's connected with water chi and also with wisdom. And certain foreheads, depending on how they're shaped, are about intuitive, right? You have the ability to be quite intuitive. So, pull your hair back off your face. Let your forehead, shine, if you will. The other thing could be to focus on the ears, because, right, we said the ears was another feature of water. So you could bring focus to your ears. You could wear earrings. You could, be intentional about that. So this is sort of a way for you to say, okay, I understand that certain features on my face are connected with each of the 5 elements. And so that's water. So water, again, wisdom, depth, creativity, intuitiveness, mystery, that's all there. Okay, so we're going to do wood next, and then I'm going to get Angie to describe the energy of wood. But before we get there, the features for wood are eyebrow. So the whole brow line and the jawline are wood features. By the way, there's lots of other wood type features and wood signifiers, but we're not going to get into them. We're really just keeping it super simple. So those two, where your eyebrows are, between the eyebrows and the jawline. And so the energy of wood, Angie, how would you describe that?
So the energy of wood is like a tree. So if you think about a tree, it could be very robust. You could even think about a huge redwood tree. So it has a lot of force. Not only is it pushing upward towards the sky with a large canopy, it also a tree also has a root system that is typically equal the size of its canopy that pushes down into the earth. So it's a very well grounded, forceful, dynamic energy, because not only can it push up through the sky and defy gravity in a sense, it also pushes through the hardness of the earth. And I'm sure all of you may have seen at some point in your life when walking down a sidewalk, seen the roots of a tree push out, that the tree could even overcome the concrete of a sidewalk. Or like growing up, a tree could overcome the concrete of a pool, like my parents' pool. The roots were starting to break through. And so wood has also the qualities of being very transformative. They're very they're very transformative in that they can change energy into matter. For instance, with photosynthesis, right? You could take the energy of the sun and use it as food. And then it's also this energy of focusing, planning, enthusiasm, pushing forward. It's a lot of movement, just like the springtime, like Laura talked about the seed pushing out from the soil to reach the light, and then the potential of that to grow into a huge redwood tree.
Mhm. And wood energy and wood chi is very, it has a lot of force to it. So it's very determined and very action oriented as well. And so if you, let's say you wanted to, I would say, let's look at this at two different ways. One, if you want to accentuate that and strengthen that kind of drive, you could focus on your eyebrows. So sometimes, there's a desire to pluck our eyebrows. I know there was for me, and I think we've talked about this in the past. In the 90s, it was a real thing to pluck your eyebrows. But your eyebrows are really a sense of that wood chi. They're really strong. It represents that drive, that initiative, that entrepreneurial spirit that wood people have. And so, but the beauty of is if you could pencil them in, you could just let them kind of grow in naturally. That would be one thing. But a really simple thing to think about with wood chi is to relax your brow line. So sometimes you get that furrowed brow. And that's again a lot of wood energy trying to push through, trying to make something happen. Just relax your forehead or between, take a look, kind of rub between your eyebrows to soften that area. And then really important, again, this is all about balance of energies too, is if your jaw is really tense. So relax your jaw, stretch your jaw, yawn, release that pent up wood chi. So you can see this from two different ways. One, you can see if you're someone that's, really holding a lot of tension in their jaw, has a really strong jaw. That's great. They have a lot of like drive. They're going, try to relax that because you want to bring balance. You want to soften. Or the other side is, no, I want to bring more wood chi into my life. Then, maybe fill in those eyebrows, play around with that. Let those eyebrows grow. Let them fill in, get all natural. So we'll talk about fire next.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do quickly the features and then you can talk about the energy. So the features for fire, it's actually a pretty fun one, is the eyes. Generally, the eyes are connected with fire, but hair, and particular hair that is noticeable, and hair that is extreme, or really really curly hair. You're like, oh, that's a person's got really, or they color their hair a very dramatic way. So drama with your hair, I would say, like big hair. And then the other thing with fire is dimples. So if you have a dimple in your chin or dimples in your cheeks, that's a very fire feature as well. So Angie, what about the energy of fire?
So the energy of fire is very fiery and boisterous and exuberant. There's a lot of peaks and highs. It's very strong. If you imagine the fire, if you've been to a campfire or a bonfire, you can't ignore the fact that there's a bonfire there. Not only is it so visible and it's glowing and it has so much light to it and magnetism, it's also something that on a mundane level you need to pay attention to as well. You can't just let the fire die out on its own. It needs a lot of attention, right? And so fire can also contribute to vitality. If you think about fire, it's the color red and the color of blood and that life vitality, and also a lot of joy. And when you were talking about crazy hair, Javier has pretty crazy
Javi.
hair, very
Javi's
fiery
got
hair.
Javi does have a lot of fire chi. He has those pointy little ears too. Those are very fiery.
Yes.
So if you wanted to accentuate, you wanted to bring more fire chi into your life, and this is the lovely thing about this is that you can choose one day to do fire and the next day to do water, whatever. It's like, just be, do, get, feel the energy and see what you want to embrace. So it would be to accentuate your eyes would be one easy one. So you could, if you do wear makeup, you could, spend a little more time on your eyes and let everything kind of sit back in the background, mascara, make your eyes look bigger, brighter, sparkling. Sparkling eyes are a very, fiery feature. But the other kind of easy thing to do is if you just want to be more fiery, is to make a statement with your hair or your clothing. Clothing too, because fire people are, I know that's not the face, but fire people are very, they have a really, can be stylish or bold or extra way of dressing. So bring a little of that fire statement into your hair or your clothing. Okay, next is earth. So the features associated with earth are, the main one is the mouth and lips, bridge of the nose as well. But overall, earth has a softness in the features, a fullness in features. But the mouth would be the one that you really want to focus on. And so the energy of earth, Angie, talk a little bit about that.
So Earth is very stable, it's balanced, and it is firm. It also has this sense of fruition, right? Like fruit at the point where it's the maximum ripeness. It's just one more day and it will be too ripe. So there's a lot of heaviness to that. And if you think about this word earth, you may start to think about how the earth is very maternal, like Mother Earth. There is a reason for that people say Mother Earth, because it's very much this maternal, mothering, nurturing, caring energy, and there's a lot of comfort, safety, and support with Earth.
Yeah, and if this sounds like energy that you want to embrace today, you could accentuate your mouth, right? You could just focus on your mouth. You could wear lipstick, which is an obvious one. Again, if you are a person that likes to wear makeup, you could even keep it subtle, your lipstick, and just add lip liner and just to make your lips look a bit fuller and a little bit bigger so that there's more attention drawn to them. Or you could just do like what I do, which is wear chapstick every single day and barely wearing a lipstick and just give them some TLC, right? Just keep, just make sure they're not all cracked and dried and they feel supple and full, because that's really earth. That's a lot of comfort and nurturing. I mean, think about it, earth people, or people that have a lot of earth chi, they are also like givers and caring, and one of the ways to feed people, right? Like you feed them. And so the mouth is very connected with that. But I would say one last thing is, if you don't want to do makeup and you don't do that stuff, then just try giving someone a big smile. Use your mouth for a beautiful thing. Give, a big smile and speak kind, comforting words, earth words. Okay, so the last one we're going to do is metal. That's the last of the 5 elements. And so metal is interesting. The features of metal are, um, I would say if I had to pick one, I would say cheekbones and cheeks. Um, but also metal is sort of a very simple, like there's wide spaces between features, and they often have, there can be an angular or bony nose. So a large nose can be connected with metal as well, but it depends on the configuration of the nose. But I would say a bony nose, larger nose is more metal. And the cheekbones, especially, as well as having lines in your cheeks, is a metal quality as well. So the energy of metal, Angie.
The energy of metal is contracting. It's moving inward. Just like if you think when you refine metal, it actually you're burning out impurities and making it more dense, right? And also, if you think about a sword, it's very dense and it's very rigid. So there's this, again, this contracting, inward moving quality, but also a clarity. If you think about, say, how it sounds to ring a bell, or like the meal bell, right? Or if you've been to a sound bath, if you've heard a metal bell or metal singing bowl, or even your doorbell kind of has that metal quality. Although nowadays doorbells are not actually metal bells, they used to be. So now modern doorbells kind of mimic that sharpness, that sharp sound. So it's very clear. When you hear a bell, you know, like something, it's a big alert. It's like something's ending. It's a transition. It's very clear. So there's that. And then there's also sensitivity, because metal can very much pick up the temperature of things, right? So if it's hot, it will get hot. If it's cold, it will transmit that cold temperature. And it's very sensitive, while at the same time quite rigid and strong. And also energy can have the metal can have the energy of being very subtle. And then there's also a coolness to metal.
Yeah, so metal, I would say, if we're going to talk about maybe something to bring more metal qualities into you that day, like maybe you have to be really on task and you need to get stuff done and you need to stop messing around, then you're going to want to bring in some of that metal energy. And I would say one of the things for metal is for your face is less is more. Okay. It's simplify. So be really, simplify, just keep, a clean, face, just open face is very metal, right? You could also accentuate it, bring in, sorry, by accentuating the cheekbones. So high prominent cheekbones are a very metal, is one of the features that you would say somebody has a lot of metal chi, right? And so you could do that as well. And then one takeaway overall, actually, this would be for all of the elements, because as I said, the nose, which is often when it's the bony, kind of longer nose, is a very metal feature. People time and time again, and I know I'm absolutely guilty of it, find their nose is their least favorite feature, right? It's what they hate. My nose is too big, which I 100% think. And growing up as a teenager, when your face hasn't grown into your nose, you really grow up hating your nose. And that was one thing that our teacher Rosalie always taught us, is that your nose, because it is in the center of your face, which is the tai chi, right? Because again, you can bagua your face. That's a whole other thing. It's the tai chi. So it's the center, it's the power, it's that which connects everything. And so if you can, learn to love your nose and love your power, like that's really your power. Really embrace it.
Yeah, I also just wanted to review everything that you said for the listeners. And then I'm going to share, based on what I need today, what I'm going to do, and I want to hear what you need to do too. But for the listeners, just an overview. So if you want to bring in more water element in general, or at this moment or today, you can work on your face by showing your forehead more, pulling back your hair, or wearing ears that accentuate your wearing earrings that accentuate your ears. You don't have to wear ears. Hopefully you have ears. And then you would want to put earrings on them. So that's a great way to bring in the energy of water, which is stillness, knowledge, and wisdom. And then for wood element, if you would like to have a little bit more energy, more start an energy to start things, push forward, that kind of transformative energy, you can. For me, this is actually what I'm going to do. Relax my jaw and stretch and yawn and release any pent up wood chi so it can flow better. And I could even draw in my eyebrows. And we also talk about like if you draw on your eyebrows, people like, especially as women, men or people will pay more attention to you or give you a little bit more authority. Fire, just to summarize what Laura said about fire, that if you would like to bring in more joy and to strengthen your chi and bring in more vitality and exuberance, you can highlight your eyes or make a statement with your hair. Maybe you tease out your hair a little bit more, use some of that hairspray. Or you remember when we used to get up in the morning and I would like plug in the curling iron, come back like 5 minutes later, curling iron, hairspray. You back in the day, the 80s,
So
right?
get you some 80s hair going.
80s hair. And then earth, if you would like to bring in more stability and more nourishment for yourself and more comfort, you can give yourself maybe like a nice like mouth massage or like a mouth, like a lip mask. At the very least, smile very big. And Laura said to speak comforting words. And then the last but not least is metal. So if you need a little bit more precision, efficiency, get your stuff done today, or you just need that more in your life, more precision and more assertiveness, you can love your nose. And you can also work on your cheekbones, maybe with bronzer, or maybe you put a little bit of, like, maybe like tap them a little bit to bring more color, right?
Pinch your cheeks like your grandma, like, dude, when you get that little blush, cheek, 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 cheek.
Yeah, what is it you
Yeah,
said? Pain is, or
that's
beauty is
what
pain.
that's what my grandmother taught me. If you want to be beautiful, it's gonna hurt, is what she'd say. Which I don't recommend, by the way. But yeah, so and again, I would say overall with metal is simplify, be really clear, clean. Like I just what I think of as, and this is be probably where I'm right now at with my energy is metal for me would be using my products, like my facial products, to like just make my face just like light up, like just be clear and simple and yeah, and I have a lot of different face products I use. And so but then I wouldn't put any makeup on, maybe. I would just leave it like that.
So working on your natural beauty
Mhm.
and getting
Simplifying.
in deep with, well, actually, your isn't, skin is metal too, right?
Um, yeah, it depends different qualities of it, but yes, yeah. Like the big wide like features where it's like, oh, it's so smooth and like, you know what I mean? That kind of like is very
Well, just like
metal.
metal is very smooth, but I think
Yeah.
in general, like all your skin
Mhm.
is related to metal element. Anyway, we're digressing. Let's wrap this up. Okay, so thank you. Oh, so before we wrap this up, actually, if you want to
Mhm.
learn more about face reading, be sure to check out our podcast that we did with Tamsin Lee. She actually practices face reading, and we'll put a link in the show notes and you can learn more about that and learn more about her practice. And thank you so much, Laura, for sharing your the top line things
Mm.
about face reading, because that's something that really Laura loves much more than me.
Mhm.
I don't really pay attention to it much. But I appreciate you taking the time and letting the listeners know the basics about 5 elements in your face. And we thank you, listeners, for listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast. You can tune in every Monday for a new episode. And if you like our podcast and this episode, please share it with others. It makes a huge difference if you subscribe, actually, and if you leave reviews. And also, please join our mailing list. If you go down to the show notes, there'll be a link to sign up for our newsletter. And we'd love to say hi to you in your inbox every week with our special offers that are only available for newsletter subscribers. Like right now, we have a 27-day challenge. So thank you so much. If you'd like to learn more, just keep listening and tell everyone about our podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.